Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to Apple Tech Talks, and for this video we're going to be discussing the comparison between four major video game streaming services, and those are Apple Arcade, Google Stadia, Sony PlayStation Now, and Nvidia GeForce Now. So we're going to be taking a look at all of these now. I'm sure you've heard of all four of these. If you haven't, that's okay, because I'm going to be going through all of them right now. And this, honestly, as you can see, video game streaming services are becoming a lot more popular, just like music streaming services sort of took over the music industry a few years ago. The same thing is happening now with video games, and I'm super glad it is. But honestly, it's time to finally decide which is the best video game streaming services. This is your most comprehensive, most in-depth guide possible on which is the best to buy right now. So let's get started. We're going to divide into a couple categories. The first category is the library of games available. The second is the platforms/devices that are supported on each of these video game streaming services. Third is the UI, the user interface. How do you interact? How does it feel to use the software? Number four, exclusive features of each of these video game streaming services. Number five, the popularity of the video game streaming service, which I won't be able to answer for two of them because they haven't been released yet. And then finally, number six, the verdict. We're going to be discussing a yes/no answer. What is the best one for you? So let's get started. First, library of games. So with Apple Arcade, basically, if you didn't know, it's a video game streaming service made by Apple, and it was announced back in March. And it's coming in fall of 2019, probably September, I'd hazard a guess. There are over 100 exclusive, high-quality iOS games that are coming on the Apple Arcade platform in the fall, and none of them are currently offered on the regular App Store. So a couple examples of these games, Apple has talked about several of them. The first one is Where Cards Fall, which is a narrative puzzle game / coming-of-age story about a kid in high school. You also have The Pathless, which is a surreal / mythical adventure in a forest. You have Lego Brawls, you have Hot Lava, which is basically like that game you play when you were a kid. You know, the floor is lava. Beyond the Still Skies, in a dystopia called Union City. It's basically like a puzzle game, and you play the role of a hacker. So you can watch trailers for all these in the description below. I'll leave a link so that you can watch them if you want to learn more about these games. And there are constantly new games coming all the time to this platform, and some of these games look really high quality. You have to remember that this is not going to be traditional iOS games. This is going to be some high quality stuff. This is going to be some of the best game developers in the world. One of the guys was a Japanese developer who created Final Fantasy 15. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you expect to see something similar running on iOS. And let's be honest, Apple hardware is getting very, very capable. So it's not like they're not capable of running console level games on their own devices. So expect a lot of really serious stuff to come. So moving on to Google Stadia in terms of library of games. So it's made by Google, obviously. It was announced this month in June, and it's coming in November of 2019. So basically there are two variants. The first variant is free. It's called Stadia Base. And basically there are no new games ever added to this, and there are no discounts on game purchases. It's basically only offered in stereo sound and a max resolution of 1080p, and you do have to pay for each game, but you do stream it online, so there's no need to buy a hard disk, and the prices should be around the same as what the games would usually cost if you bought a disc. So now we actually get to what's paid, which is called Stadia Pro. And many popular existing console games, plus a lot of exclusive Google Play mobile games will appear on this platform. So some of the existing console games that will come include Destiny 2, Doom Eternal, Wolfenstein Youngblood, Mortal Kombat 11, Final Fantasy, which I love that game by the way, Tomb Raider, and so much more. Exclusive games have not been announced yet, except for one called Get Packed, which doesn't look super good personally to me, but maybe other people find it appealing. It's a co-op removals game centered around people trying to move out of their house. You can watch a trailer for that in the description below as well. And there are also exclusive discounts on select games on Google Stadia Pro. And it's packaged in what's called a Founders Edition, which includes a lot of stuff from a custom controller that we'll talk about in a second. Google Stadia, obviously. You also get Google Stadia for a friend. That's 3 months free, and a lot more stuff that I'll put up right here. Now let's move on to PlayStation Now. So this has been made by Sony, and it's been around since 2014. It's the longest and oldest video game streaming platform that's existed, and it was one of the first to really hit mass market. So there are over 750 games on demand. Sony's had a lot of time to really let this service marinate and really develop over time. So it makes sense that Sony has a lot more titles, but it's just a fact. Sony has a lot of titles, and there are hundreds of exclusives, with Sony adding up to 50 more per month. So some of the games that Sony offers include Mortal Kombat 11, God of War, Last of Us, Red Dead Redemption, Bloodborne, Fortnite, GTA 5, Horizon Zero Dawn, Overwatch, and so much more. So obviously you recognize most of these titles, obviously, if you've been around people who game, or if you're a gamer yourself, or just are on the internet, or just not living under a rock. Some of the biggest titles are going to be available on PlayStation Now, and it's a really big deal, honestly. Next and finally, we have GeForce Now, which is made by Nvidia, and it's been around since 2015, so it's actually been around for a while, but it's still in beta. I don't understand this about Nvidia. They still have it in beta 4 years later. That's why it's actually free, and all Steam games work in it, plus Ubisoft and Blizzard games. I love Blizzard games personally. StarCraft 2 and Diablo 3 fan. Over 400 games. But there aren't any exclusives on the platform. Basically, you also get some early access to games as well, but this service is mainly for testers, not hardcore gamers, and you'll see why that is as we go through this video. So next thing we're going to talk about, next category, is the platform/devices that are supported on each of these video game streaming services. So the first one, Apple Arcade, it supports Apple TV, the iMac, MacBook, the iPad, and the iPhone. So pretty much all of Apple's devices are supported, but nothing else. No non-Apple devices are supported, unfortunately. With Google Stadia, you have any desktop or laptop, Mac or PC, is compatible with Google Stadia. Google Stadia also works with the TV, but it has to have the Chromecast. It also works with tablets with Google Chrome and Google's Pixel 3 and 3a. PlayStation Now is playable on the PS4 or on the PC, but on the PC you can't download games for offline. And Nvidia's GeForce Now is available on Mac, PC, or Nvidia's Shield product. So the third category now is the user interface, the UI. So how does it feel to actually use this service? So Apple Arcade, the UI is still pretty unclear. I couldn't really find anything online, but I would definitely imagine it to be very nice and also very simple. You know that Apple holds themselves to a certain standard with the UI, and they generally do a very good job. I'm just sort of imagining what's probably going to be most likely is that there's going to be a section of the App Store with arcade-only games that you can download and install, and it'll be very similar to the current App Store layout, maybe a little bit nicer, and you'll just be able to play the games right there on your phone. With Google Stadia, also the UI is a little bit hard to imagine because there's only a few pictures out there on the internet, but it should be very well done. It is Google after all. Again, they hold themselves to a very high standard. It might not be smooth for everybody, it depends on their connection. With PlayStation Now, you have a very fluid, easy to use user interface, and the console interaction is actually very smooth and very intuitive too. So on the PS4, you'd think because it's not a touchscreen and you don't have a mouse and keyboard, it'd be kind of tough, but they actually do a very good job with their DualShock 4 controllers. And the UI is also very good on the PC side for PlayStation Now. GeForce Now, it is slightly glitchy, but it is pretty attractive overall. It is in beta. Though the bugs are getting ironed out over time, there is a 4-hour playing limit, which is actually really sucky because they'll actually just kick you out without saving any of your progress after 4 hours, because again, this is a beta. People are still testing this program. But also sometimes it doesn't load properly, which I can't see really happening on any of the other 3 platforms I mentioned. So fourth, exclusive features. So Apple Arcade, there's continuity between the devices. This is a thing that not just applies to Apple Arcade, but just in general for Apple products. They're all very seamlessly connected. The data is saved across all of the devices automatically through iCloud. There's very good security with privacy. I'd say probably exceptional above the other other competitors because Apple just holds themselves to a certain standard that Google really just doesn't. There's also family sharing, which allows for up to 6 members to share the same iCloud account. So you can basically have several members playing and enjoying Apple Arcade. And just overall, the most exclusive feature of the Apple Arcade is that it's on the iOS platform, which no other company other than Apple can touch. And let's just be honest, the iOS platform is very unique, and it's got a lot of really good games and a lot of really good exclusive games that don't exist on other platforms. And that is really why the App Store has been so popular, and the Google Play Store and other online stores haven't been nearly as popular, is because iOS has just such a strong user base already established. It's going to be very hard to break that, and that's definitely going to play a very significant role in Apple Arcade, is the amount of iPhone users and also just the amount of iOS users in general. So with Google Stadia, some of the unique features include just all the features of Google Stadia Founders Edition, which don't exist aren't offered on the other platforms. There's also an option for an exclusive Night Blue controller. This is also a Stadia controller. This is what I was talking about earlier when I was initially talking about Google Stadia. There's also support, like I said, for 5.1 surround sound, which I didn't see as a listed feature for the other competitors. And there are exclusive discounts on games. So with PlayStation Now, there aren't that many unique features. You've got exclusive games and PlayStation support, obviously, and just the fact that it's PlayStation, there's just a lot of games. And basically Sony's been making consoles for like what, 20 years, 20 plus years. They know what they're doing at this point. They've got the great games nailed down. So you know that if you are on Sony's platform, PlayStation Now platform, you're gonna get access to a lot of really good games, some of them really good PlayStation exclusives. Also, you'll get split screen multiplayer mode, which I don't think is offered in any of the other services, maybe on GeForce Now, but definitely I would say probably not on Apple Arcade or Google Stadia. There's also access to a lot of older games that you can play, like PS3 and PS2 titles, which is basically for nostalgia, which you can't find on most of these other services that are ever going to be using games developed very recently. And finally, the popularity. So Apple Arcade, again, it's unknown obviously, but it's very likely to be a success just the way Apple products tend to go. With Google Stadia, it's obviously, again, unknown, but very likely to be a success just the way Google products go. Perhaps slightly more popular than Apple because of their larger library of games. They're including console games, not just their own exclusive games that no one's heard of. There's already like a guarantee and an appeal for existing gamers out there who know these games and love them. PlayStation Now, a report in late 2018 showed that the PS Now accounts for 52% of the gaming subscription service users, which generated about $273 million in revenue for Sony. So this is insane. And basically Sony dominates about half, if not more, of the market right now. So it's going to be very hard to break this. Sony has a very firm grasp in it. In terms of popularity with GeForce Now, there are over 300,000 active users, but over 1 million on the wait list to join the beta program. So overall, the verdict, I'd say without a doubt, right now it's the Sony PlayStation Now service. It's the most established service by far. It's been around for the longest. It's got the highest quality, most popular games that you know for sure are guaranteed to be good, and it's got the most recognized titles. So basically, if you're not a Sony person, Xbox Game Pass is also very good too. And a small problem I'd say with Apple Arcade is that it's only including iOS games, and it's only available on Apple devices, meaning that people who don't use Apple devices will be left out of this. And also the fact that it's just iOS games and not doing what Google Stadia is doing, including existing console games, means that Apple will actually have to appeal really well to these consumers. They're also iOS based, which is already sort of losing its appeal right there. Google Stadia does look quite promising. The problem with GeForce Now is that it's essentially still in beta. It's gotten a lot better in terms of the lagginess and the performance of the website and the application, but it's still in beta, guys, and that means that it's still in testing, meaning that it's not actually formally a consumer product. And though a lot of consumers use it for light gaming, it's not going to be good for heavy gaming. Like I mentioned, the 4-hour gaming limit before, that's just put in place. That's just, I cannot believe that even exists. Nvidia's agenda with this right now is still to test it and make sure it's good. Eventually, I hope it does become a consumer product, but as of right now, it is not meant. So we'll see how Arcade and Google Stadia play out later this year. I'll definitely make a video on that too, and also I'll have links in the description below to all of these if you want to check it out / subscribe to them. I'll have links on all of them below. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I have some really cool videos coming out this week, including one very cool video that I think you'll love tomorrow. It's actually on the Xbox, so it's related to this video. It's going to be coming on the Generation Z Gadgets channel, which you can click on that card right there to subscribe right now. So yeah, guys, subscribe to this channel too if you love videos and Apple products, every way to get the most out of your Apple product. Leave a thumbs up, leave a comment down below as well, and let me know your thoughts, what you want to see in the next video. And as always, I will see you, as always, on Thursday in the next video. Bye bye.